What's up, everybody? I'm Larry.
I'm Vito.
And you are watching the very first episode of the Geeking Poetic Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about one of our favorite subjects,
Mr. Stephen King.
Not only his history and how we got into it, but also all of his movie and television adaptations, mainly from his first 20 years. And then we're going to top it all off with us talking about our top 5 favorite adaptations. So stay tuned. All right. Well, here we are, man.
Finally, huh?
Finally. Hey, everybody. How's it going out there? This is Larry Roberts.
This is Vito Marchese.
And over there we have
Megan Guess.
And we make up your hosts for the evening for Geeking Poetic
Podcast.
Yeah, he had to make sure you knew it, because if you didn't know what the fuck you were listening to, it'd be like, what is this shit?
It's a podcast because it's on your podcast app of choice. Right?
Yeah, right. Or if they're watching it on YouTube,
That's true.
They're just like, what the fuck is this and everything. So anyway, what is this show, man? What are we doing? What the hell are we doing here, Vito?
We're a bunch of jagoffs that like to talk shit about a variety of subjects.
Well, you know, we should clarify when we say we talk shit. It doesn't mean that we're just going to be like bad-mouthing things. If anything, I'd say probably most of the time we're going to try not to be bad-mouthing. We're going to talk about the stuff that we dig, mostly. But, of course, with that, then we're going to also talk about a lot of stuff that we don't like so much. And even the stuff we like, we'll probably make fun of it anyway, because that's how we are.
But it's all in good fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess first things first, since it's the first episode, before we get into the subject that we'll be talking about, we should talk about who the hell we are. Because people are going to be like, who are these guys? Why are they doing
I don't
this?
need to watch you.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know your name.
I don't know you. You don't know me. Why am I watching you? Yeah, so we're off to a great start.
Oh, yeah.
Gold. It's gold.
So who we are. For some of you who probably don't know, I and Vito have been playing together now for, oh man, how long have we been playing together in bands?
I first met you in late 2002.
2002, yeah. So you joined, officially, I guess, at the start of 2003. So you have been in the band for, what, 15 years?
Yeah. That's nuts.
Right. That is nuts. And that's way nuts. And again, for the people that don't know, Vito and I play in a dark metal band called November's Doom. Some of you probably have heard of us at the very least.
Hopefully.
Maybe. And a bunch of you probably have not. But yeah, we've been doing that for a long time. We've got a bazillion albums out.
Can't even count at this point.
Yeah, 10 or 11 albums out. We've toured all over the world. We've done a lot of stuff, man. Yeah, we've
Very fortunate.
yeah, we're very fortunate. And what does that have anything to do with this show? Well, what it has to do with is that back around, what was that, 2010?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think it was right around 2010. We and the rest of our bandmates at the time came up with this crazy idea to do a podcast where, contrary to what you might think, we'd be sitting around talking about the band, talking about music. We didn't talk about any of that.
It was started with that intention, obviously. But
I think that lasted like half of the first episode. It lasted like, less than half of the first episode. And then it just denigrated into us being us, which was a group of total goof off, wise ass, wisecracking jagoffs from Chicago. Yeah. And surprisingly enough, so it was the November's Doom Doomcast, which is, it's probably, I'm guessing you can still download that, can't you?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think the episodes are still available out there if people want to dare listen to that. But So anyway, I don't know how long we were doing that. We did that on and off probably for about four years.
I think so. Yeah.
4 or 5
Yeah.
years. And surprisingly, the Doomcast actually did really well. We had a lot of people that were listening to that didn't even like our band.
They didn't give a shit about our band. It was
No.
just like a comedy show for them, pretty much.
It's exactly what it was. Yeah, and it was a comedy show.
Yeah.
And it was a good time. Unfortunately, for various reasons, personal and business and all this other stuff, we do not do that anymore. We may do it again someday. I don't know. If we'll see. The times have changed. Some of the shit we used to say on there, I don't know if we could get away with that anymore.
No, I do not think so.
No, because we were pretty raw. We were pretty raunchy. But yeah, so we did that for a while and kind of missed doing that. So, Vito and I are always the ones that are, I'd say we're probably the ones that are the most invested in like pop culture stuff, I mean, all the guys in the band are into various things, our singer Paul's into Marvel and Spider-Man, and he likes some sci-fi, he likes tech stuff. Our bassist Mike is
Super
into
huge Star Wars,
super
Star Trek
big
guy.
Star Trek guy. We'll end up having him on here, I'm sure, when we talk about those kind of subjects, and we may have all of them. Our drummer Gary doesn't care about anything.
He does like the Underworld movies.
Yeah, he likes a couple of things, but mostly he likes like substance abuse and
Band autobiography books.
yeah,
And nothing cool whatsoever. That's about it.
yeah. Well, nothing cool unless you're an old geek like we are, right? Yeah. But in any case, Vito and I have just for a long time now talked about wanting to do this, because whether we've been at practice or we've been touring or traveling and stuff like that, we'll get into subjects talking about things we like, whether it's sharing certain authors or directors or series. We're both huge Star Trek fans, as is Megan, big Star Trek fan over there.
Big Star Trek fan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So that is definitely something, if you can't tell by the giant Mr. Spock right behind Vito over there, that is definitely something we'll be talking about in the future. But in any case, so it was just one of those kind of things that just felt natural to us. We'd tossed around this idea for a long time, and we just said like, man, let's do it. November's Doom, we're always active. We're always doing stuff. And we've got our other band as well, the Kalis Clone. Go figure, Star Trek reference again.
Had to do it, man.
Yeah. So Vito and I also play in that, but the timing seemed right because those bands are kind of in like a little bit of a down low mode right now. So we said, let's do this.
Got to do something with our time, right?
Let's do this. Fucking do this shit. So yeah, so here we are. So then, that's kind of our background. And then it happens that another friend of someone more recent friend of yours, but a longer standing friend of mine, was Miss Megan Guess. And I knew that basically she was a big dork.
It's true.
Well, but
So we just had to
That's a
have
good
her.
thing.
well,
on the
that's
show.
that's what we bonded over initially. I think was
Yeah, it
we
was.
we found out that it's kind of a rare treat when you meet a young lady and you expect, I hate to say it, but you do have certain expectations, like you don't think that she's going to start like waxing, ecstatic over old Next Generation episodes and stuff like that. It just,
Doesn't
I
happen.
know I'm not trying to be chauvinist or judgmental. I've met and I know tons, but I don't come across them that often. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And usually when I do, let's put it more to this point, they're usually more like in my age group, or older, because let's face it, both of you guys are in you're younger than me. Let's put it that way. Considerably younger than me. And you were basically little kids when stuff like Star Trek Next Gen.
I think I was 8 or 9 when
9 or
Jen
10.
was.
Yeah, at best. So it's kind of unusual. It wasn't necessarily like the coolest thing for your generation to be into. So it was it was interesting when I found out how much she was into it and everything, and that she had all the toys and all this. I was like, holy shit. Oh, okay. Like, she's a serious dork, man. That's awesome. You know, like that's cool. So we bonded over that kind of stuff and just other things. Indiana Jones, another.
I love Indiana Jones.
He's
like, the man. Dude.
Yeah, she's way into that. So that's another thing you could probably expect we'll talk about at some point or another. But anyway, so the point is I've known her for a long time, and we've always talked about stuff. But as it happens, she also has a background in this sort of thing. And why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, I actually volunteered at a radio station, a local radio station, WVLP LP 98.3 in Valparaiso.
Yeah.
I did that for a couple years with a couple of a coworker and another friend.
Right.
So we did that a couple years on and off also. And just like this, it was two guys, and I was back here working all this stuff. Keep an eye on everything, make sure the levels were okay.
Interjecting now and
then, keeping them on the straight and narrow, which I'm sorry.
You're going to have to do on this one.
I'm not going to have very good success at that. I apologize right now.
Yeah, we'll get into that and that disclaimer shortly. But also the reason why you did that and here today is because you have a background.
Yeah, I went to college for communications.
Right.
So this is my passion. This is what I want to do. So I'm really excited to get back into it with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, albeit it's in a small,
basement
little basement studio kind of thing, with.
So was the radio station. It was
yeah,
perfect.
I suppose. And it's
all for the fun.
And it's a different world nowadays, man. Yeah.
You can do whatever the fuck you want, man.
I can do what I want.
You don't need no goddamn network television studio to do what the fuck you want.
Don't worry about the FCC and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we just got to worry.
Not as bad.
No, we just got to worry about everybody else in the world anymore.
Just got to worry about social justice.
just got to make sure that we don't wind up on Antifa's list or something like that. No, I mean, we're not. So yeah, I'll probably get into the disclaimer now. So here's the thing. So we're going to be talking about pop culture things. We're going to be talking about sci-fi and horror and video games and TV shows and music, and we'll be covering all that kind of stuff because we're involved in all that to one degree or another. Mm-hmm. However, this is not going to be a children's show.
No, not at all, man.
Not at all, because I'm just going to throw it right out there. I am a filthy fuck. Okay, so I mean, I can't help it. It's just the way I don't know. I'm from the south side of Chicago, the real, true, deep south side of Chicago, not some little suburb thing. I'm from the south side of Chicago, so and I grew up in a family of old school Chicago policemen. Obviously, you could tell by looking at me that I am not a policeman, but I grew up around that world, and so my mouth is like a raw sailor, man, and just my sense of humor. I have my dad's sense of humor, which, yeah, I can't even tell you some of the stories about that. But my dad, his sense of humor was fucking off the charts sometimes with some of the shit he'd say and come up with. But in any case, the point being is that, yeah, this isn't going to be like if you're listening to this on iTunes or whatever other platform we have this up on, and you've got like your 8 or 10-year-old in the car and goes, "Oh, cool, Star Wars, I want to listen to that." No, don't do it.
Do not let them listen.
Don't do it, because at some point we're going to be probably talking about, fucking, jag-off cocksucking motherfuckers or something like that. We're going to, all those like 7 words you don't say on TV kind of thing
are going to apply to podcasts for us in this, 7 words you shouldn't say on podcasts with children.
I mean, dude, yeah, there's just, it's going to be raw. I mean, no worse than, if you watch other, that's the other thing. We're big fans of other podcasts and other YouTube, or internet shows. I love the Cinemassacre stuff, Video Game Nerd, he's
Nostalgia Critic.
The Critic and all the Channel Awesome, all the people on Channel Awesome and all, great shows on there. And we're going to, that's the other thing too. So throwing this out there, like I said, getting it all out of the way for this first episode, folks, and then pretty soon we'll get into a subject. So that's the other thing. We're not claiming to be aficionados on anything. I mean, we're probably going to get shit wrong. So we already know there's going to be some of you that are going to be screaming and crying in the comments going, you don't know what you're talking about.
But that's fine. You should leave as many comments as you'd like to.
Oh, and absolutely.
Subscribe so you can leave more comments that you want to.
Yeah, we might make fun of you if you leave
that's
some
a guarantee
comment.
actually.
You know, I might say something really fucking offensive back at you. Maybe, you know, or I might just completely ignore you anyway. But I mean, in all seriousness, yeah, we're not trying to claim like we're not, you know, aficionados. We're not going to play that role like some of those guys we mentioned that we like, you know, where they try to be like the bastion of good taste and sensibility about video games or movies or whatever. You know, we don't know. And we'll readily admit that some of our tastes are really bad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, you people are going to find that out. You people are going to find that out, and you're just going to be like, oh, my God.
You guys actually enjoy watching that movie
alone
with no other people to make fun of it with? Yeah.
Vito.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Vito.
And you're going to hear about it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, Vito.
You're going to hear about it.
Yeah, Vito in particular is, you know, I mean, I like some bad shit, different kinds of bad shit than you do, but you are mind-numbingly bad with some of your I mean, some of the things you're into, it's some holy shit moments, man. It's and we'll save it. We won't get into it now because it's not necessary. Well, we will touch on some of your finer tastes and or lack thereof tonight with the subject matter. But yeah, you know, yeah, Vito's got very interesting taste, man. You know, yeah, and you know a lot about it too. I'll give you that. That kind of stuff you do. You'll bring up things that I'm just like, why do you know that? Which is another reason I wanted to do this show with you, because I was like, wow, yeah, there's things that you'll talk about that I wouldn't, and then there's things I talk about. You know?
And I'm like, how the hell do you know that?
Right. Well, because I mean, I can throw it right out there that I love like bad musicals like Grease 2 and Xanadu and things like that. I can't help it, you know. I know way too much about that stuff and stuff that most people would say like, dude, that's not good, you know. But I find redeeming qualities in it, you know. And it probably like you, a lot of it was because I watched and listened to a lot of that stuff when I was a kid. So
it has a different effect on you, you know, when you watch as a kid than as an adult.
Exactly. I mean, I think some of these things, if I saw Xanadu for the first time when I was like 35 years old, I would just be like, oh my God, you know. But I can remember being 6 or 7 or whatever I was when I first saw it and just being like, you know, not seeing the cheesiness of it, you know, or just how ridiculous it was, or the fact that it was already passé when it came out, you know. Yeah, I didn't know. Or just like you with special effects and stuff, you know. I'm sure there's really cheesy special effects that you thought were great.
Yeah.
And it just kind of stays with you.
Yeah.
You know. And then Megan likes shit like Quigley Down Under, you know.
Hey.
Quigley, what the hell is Quigley Down Under?
Really? Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
I'm so excited to introduce you to Quigley.
That's going to be
Tom Selleck.
Okay.
Yeah.
With mustache?
With mustache. Okay. Oh yeah.
Dude, maybe
he has to, right?
That might be a good episode. We should each pick, because we already know what hers is going to be. We should do a Tom Selleck roundtable, and we should each pick a Tom Selleck. She could do Quigley, and maybe I'll pick something like Runaway or something like that, and then you'll have to that would be a good episode. See, we're already thinking of stuff here.
Write it down. Write it down.
Put that shit down. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, that's, you know, so I like, just to finish that part off. So people, I know some of you, I know you're going to get your panties in a bunch. I know.
Or your boxer briefs.
Yeah.
You know?
Or your briefs are going to fucking right up your dick crotch, fucking slot, whatever, fucking whatever, you know, you could be, well, because you could be a chick wearing fucking boxer briefs for that matter. I can't be, you know, just assume for that matter, you could be a dude wearing fucking panties.
Yeah.
I don't
or
judge.
a G-string, you know, whatever you want to do, bro.
I'm not judging. It's a different
cool,
world.
dude.
Yeah, it's cool. Whatever you want to do. But in any case, if that shit starts fucking creeping up your fucking piss slot, because you don't agree with something we're talking about, or you think we're trying to be know-it-alls, or you don't like that we're making fun of something that you like, or we're praising something that you don't like, whatever, man. It's the fucking internet,
Nobody cares about your opinion, just like you don't care about our opinion.
Exactly. Our opinions, we're throwing that out there right now. Our opinions mean diddly dick, okay? We're just simply three friends that really enjoy talking about this stuff, and we just thought we'd do it on a microphone.
And I'm sure there's going to be a handful of you that like the same stuff we do and be like, dude, you guys are awesome. This is exactly what I want to hear. And that's great because we're doing that for us and for you guys.
And by a handful, we mean there's probably literally like maybe 3 of you out there. We're good for 3. Good for 3. But
inside joke.
Yeah. But so anyway, so that's pretty much that is like, getting that out of the way. I know I've been rambling forever, as you'll find out I do that. But that is pretty much it. That is the introduction of the Geeking Poetic Podcast. That's what we are. And we'll talk about this more later, but we definitely are going to want people to chime in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all because we're on all that. And in the comments on YouTube, rather, and let us know not only whether you like it, don't like it, but especially like, what do you want to hear more of? What do you want to see us talk about? All sorts of, because we've got tons of ideas, but we're always open to more ideas. And like I said, between the 3 of us, we're not aficionados on anything, but we know a lot of stuff. Like, we're familiar with a lot of stuff, read a lot. We're all readers. We read a lot of books, a lot of different kinds of books. We're not just going to be into sci-fi or just into horror or whatever. We're into all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we're definitely looking forward. That's another part, is because I love meeting people. I love talking to people, finding out what they're into. And that's the best part about being in the band, actually, is I love all the people we've met through the band, through, social media, and when we're out on tour. Met some great, interesting people, some characters.
Oh, that's for sure.
Oh, man. We could do a whole episode just talking about the characters we've met, specific characters. We don't have to name specific names. We usually have other names for them anyway, like Alfred Molina and George Washington and all those, Robs DeCraw,
Oh, man.
People are going to be like, what's that? You're going to have to wait. We're saving that for a special episode. You're going to have to wait for all that. But anyway, so yeah, we'll be looking forward to hearing what people have to say. Have I covered pretty much everything, Megan?
I think you got it.
Yeah. All right. So
we covered our bases on that one, right?
Should we start delving in now to the meat?
The meat and the potatoes?
Yeah.
I'm not a big potatoes fan, though, so.
Really?
Yeah.
You are two strikes tonight.
Because I don't like pickles and I don't like
potatoes. Really?
Do you like pickled potatoes?
Well, look at
I don't know. Me obviously, yes.
She's eating.
Oh, that's true.
Pickled potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah. So Megan was chomping down on some dill pickle potato chips, and Vito started insulting her for it.
Dude, pickles are so disgusting. I don't know how you guys.
He's looking at her and he was like, "You're fucking disgusting, bitch. Fucking eating those pickled chips. What the fuck?" He didn't do that at all, actually.
No, not really, no.
But he let it be known that things
was
were
that?
falling.
Was that a light?
Yeah, I think so.
Shit,
That's all right.
We'll leave it in. That's
yeah.
okay.
It's
good.
you know why? It's because it's the fucking pickle potato ghost,
Yeah.
man. He's just like,
Fuck
you. Don't you be putting down pickled potatoes?
Fuck your pickles, man.
Oh man, shit's wrong. Anyway, yeah. So getting into the meat and potatoes of this stew, the subject that we decided to discuss for our very first episode is
Mr. Stephen King's top movie and TV adaptations.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about, we'll talk a little bit about Stephen King and how we got into him, all that kind of stuff. And then we are going to, at the apex of the episode, we are
The
going
climax, if you will.
the climax. Yeah. We're going to talk about our top 5 favorite book to film or television or miniseries, whatever, adaptations. And we should also let people know that we're not going to get into what would you say? Basically, we're going to kind of cut it off right around the new millennium.
Yeah.
We'll talk about 70s, 80s, 90s and stuff, but getting into things like all the various reboots, like the new It movie, the redone Shining, and then newer things that came out like Under the Dome and all that. I mean, we definitely want to talk about that, but that's all going to be something that deserves its own episode. For this one, we're going to talk mostly about, I think, like the stuff that we grew up with, like, what we would consider, I guess, the classic King stuff. I don't know. I mean, Vito, so like, how did you end up getting into Stephen King? Can you remember like where it like started?
My earliest memory was watching the It 90s miniseries on TV.
Yeah, that makes sense because you were probably like 8
years
or 9.
old.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I don't think a child of 8 years old should watch that film, but...
Well, maybe now, because an 8-year-old nowadays can handle way worse stuff than that.
Well, it's funny because my nephew really wanted to watch that, so I actually watched it with him. He's 8 now. Well, he's 10, actually.
Right.
And he thought that movie was incredibly boring and not scary at all.
That seems about right. That seems about right for nowadays, because, I mean, I know people that, I'm sure there's plenty of people listening and stuff. I know people that let their 7 or 8-year-old kids, like, regularly watch things like Walking Dead and stuff. And I mean, that's way more, not just gruesome, but dark and chilling in a lot of ways than the It miniseries, But
at
you
the
have
time,
to,
I mean,
but yeah, exactly. You have to put everything into context of the time, So, yeah, but that's a pretty good way to get started.
Yeah.
So from there, I mean, so did it stay with movies and TV for a while? When did you finally get into reading like the novels?
Honestly, you were the guy that got me into reading the Stephen King novels.
Oh shit, it's my fault. Huh?
Yeah. So you recommended 11/22/63 like 5 years ago or something like
about
that.
5 years, yeah.
And I was like, damn, dude, that's an interesting fucking story. I got to read that book.
Yes, it is.
So after I read that book, it re-sparked my interest in actually reading all the time because I took a break for about 7 years where I wasn't reading that much. And then, dude, this book just is like phenomenal.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
I can't wait till we get into like its own like.
Yeah, that's why I said things like that and Under the Dome, those kind of things.
Yeah.
They're going to need to have their own episode because there's just too much to get into for this episode. There's too much classic old stuff and everything. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool that was. I didn't realize you hadn't really. So I knew you liked King. I knew you liked stuff, but I didn't realize you weren't that into the novels and stuff.
Yeah, it was just funny to me. Yeah, but it all started with it. Langoliers.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. But,
yeah.
Yeah. The Shining. TV series for me. I don't think I actually saw the 80s movie until a little bit later.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you went all the way around.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah. Well, I did the same thing, really. Just 10 years earlier or whatever it was. Yeah, because my introduction was through watching things when I was way too young to be watching, just like you. I was probably the same thing. I was probably about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. And I saw the original miniseries of Salem's Lot. And especially, if you think like it for its time, 1990, that was like scary for an 8-year-old man. Salem's Lot was scary for an 8-year-old in like 1980.
I can see that for sure.
Like certain things, just the atmosphere of it. And yeah, that was kind of, it scared the shit out of me. But it also made me interested. And my mom was and is a big reader, just my mom just has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books everywhere, And so that was kind of cool because then I could read her books, even though at 8 or 9 years old, some of it was a little hard to understand, but I was pretty advanced, I guess, for my age. So I think the first novel I read what year would that have came out? Was it like 82 or 81, 82? The first one I read was, of all things, it was Cujo. I didn't care that much for the movie, but we'll get into that. Yeah, things like Cujo, which is a kind of a weird one to be your first one that you get into, But yeah, things like I read Cujo, and I remember my mom getting me the little novella. Oh, God, it wouldn't have been that much longer after that. It had to be right around 83 at reading Cycle of the Werewolf.
Okay.
Which later got adapted, and we'll get into that. So I actually kind of did the opposite. Other than like Salem's Lot, I read a lot of books. And then it wasn't until a little later that I went back, because like I didn't see things like Carrie. Man, I don't think I saw that until I like graduated high school. You know, same with The Shining. I didn't see Shining until probably when I was like 17, 18 years old. And for relevance for people to understand when that was getting around like the early 90s. So yeah, so I was always more of a book guy. And then kind of like I said, other than Salem's Lot getting me into it, I was always more of a book guy. And then I started kind of coming around to the movies later, with a couple of exceptions. And again, I'll get into that once we start talking about our list and everything. But yeah, that was always kind of my thing. And then I sort of dropped off from reading a lot of this stuff around the 90s, the late 90s going into 2000s. And then I kind of picked up again with things like 11/22/63, Mr. Mercedes, Under the Dome stuff like that stuff got me back into his books again. So
I think that was when King got back into like his like awesome writing, you know, because I think late 90s, early 2000s, there's a little couple stinkers, it sounds like, in there. So.
Oh, man. I mean, that's the thing about Stephen King, and that's why he's such a fascinating subject to discuss, is because for as much incredible classics as he has, no offense, Stephen, but man, you got some stuff that stank. There's just some stuff that's like, man.
More like Stankin' King.
Yeah. And then like you said, then by the time we get to those novels we're talking about, that's like when Stephen got his groove back, you know.
Kind of like that movie. But
yeah.
he wasn't trying to bang a dude. He was just trying to write a good book.
I don't think he was trying to bang anybody. Yeah. So just bang out some good novels. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I mean, with that, yeah. So I mean, so Stephen King, anybody that's watching or listening to this probably doesn't need that much background on Stephen King, but you know, Stephen King was a writer, obviously from New England. He was, you know, he'd always wanted to be a writer, but he taught for a long time. That was kind of how he kept him and his family alive. Was he was a teacher and stuff, but he was always trying to keep writing, you know, getting something out there. And then his big breakthrough came in, what was that, 75, 74, 75, around there with Carrie. That was his first big breakthrough novel and big breakthrough movie,
which he almost didn't even end
up
writing.
Yeah. Because if I recall, the story was, didn't his wife, like, he had thrown Carrie away or something like that because he thought it was bullshit.
And she dug it out. And she's like, no, actually, you got something here that could be good.
It just goes to prove, always listen to the women, because usually the women, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, because the women are usually going to be, you know, they're usually going to tell you pretty straight, like, you know, like, if this is good, no, you should seriously consider this. Or when they're like, you're being an idiot, you know, usually the women are spot on with that, usually. So yeah, she you know, he's got her to thank, man, because that was what blew him up big time.
That kicked it off.
Yeah. So, you know, and then from there he had a string of mostly pretty successful stuff. And then, yeah, like I said, I don't think he had any real major doozies, you know, until pretty well into his career. There, you know, there was some that did better than others, but he was pretty solid for a long time there. But you know, and he's still around today, man. I mean, you're talking about a man who's still prolific, still all over the place, you know. He's, in addition to being a writer, he likes to critique constructively, in a very good way, I think, critique other writers' stuff, other filmmakers as well. You know, he's always out there, and he's got pretty cool opinions a lot of times. I don't agree with everything he says, but a lot of times if I find out, especially if it's something in kind of like mystery, thriller, horror, anything, if I see someone's like Stephen King offers his input on the new, on The Witch or The Babadook or something like that, I'm like, oh, I want to
read that.
I want to know what he says about it, because he's usually pretty spot on. So yeah, still around. Almost died.
He did, man.
Dude, yeah, he's kind of like a rock
walking
star.
his dog or something.
Yeah,
right?
he was like, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, because exactly. Guys had like, substance issues and all sorts of ups and downs and crazy shit. And how does he almost bite it? Walking on the side of the road, all Pet Cemetery like and shit. Man. Yeah, but
not that road.
Not that road. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, he's he's lucky to be here, man. He's still doing good,
and we're lucky to have him.
And we are. So, Steven, I'm sure there's no way in hell you're watching or listening to this.
But if you are, buddy, hats off to you.
Absolutely. There's a reason we picked you to be the first person and first subject of our show, because it's the one that we really agreed on. Yeah, and that's it. We've been saying that because Stephen King was kind of the one we'd talk a lot about these subjects, these books, these miniseries, these movies, and it was the one that we'd really get going talking about.
Yeah, we could talk for like hours probably on stuff together.
We won't. We won't. We promise we won't.
But we could.
But we could. But we won't. We won't talk for hours. But yeah. So that was the thing that we really knew we could easily talk about and stuff. So that's where it's at. So do we want to maybe like start thinking about getting into this top 5
yeah,
list?
Let's do it, man.
All right.
Hey, Vito here. Thanks for checking out the debut episode of the Geeking Poetic Podcast.
If you like what you see, click one of the links below and give us a follow.
And remember to leave a comment below, and you know the drill, hit that like and subscribe button.
And make sure you check back for more content coming soon.
Now, back to the show.
Bye.
We ready to get into our top 5? So yeah, just to
count it down.
Clarify again here on the Geeking Poetic Podcast. You're listening to Larry and
Vito
and
Megan,
and we are going to get into our top 5 favorite Stephen King film and television adaptations. Classic era, we'll say, 70s through 90s kind of thing. So, yeah, you want to start with like number 5 and work our way down?
Yeah. You want to start this bad boy off?
No, why don't you go first?
Me?
Yeah, you fucking do it.
Jesus, man.
Do it, dude.
Top 5. Starting with number 5.
Real quick, I think we should point out, if anybody can see it,
his awesome shirt.
He's got
Look
an
at that
awesome
thing.
Stephen King shirt.
I'll have to take a good picture of it.
Yeah, we will. It's got all his books listed in his name.
Yep.
How neat is that?
Yeah, we
Pretty
need a picture of
clever
that.
right there.
That is
Yeah.
pretty cool. If I forget to talk about something, I could just look at your shirt, and plus we got all the good books in our little table here and stuff. So, but yeah, all right, man. Let's get into it. I'm curious because I don't know your number 5.
So my number 5 movie adaptation would be The Shining.
Oh,
Stanley Kubrick's The
Okay.
Shining from 1980, I believe.
okay. Yes. Yeah.
So The Shining I actually did not watch until probably much later. I might have watched it first when I was like 18 and I thought it was boring and not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But after reading the book and then watching it again, I was like, damn, this movie is pretty fucking incredible, dude.
Yeah.
Like visually is just, dude, it's pretty spot on, man.
Right.
There's just so much atmosphere going on. It's just.
Right. Well, did you end up reading the book?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, the big controversy, of course, is that it strays quite a bit from the book in a lot of ways. And as much of I think, the funny thing about The Shining is when it came out, it wasn't received real well.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, people weren't digging on it. I mean, some did, but people just weren't digging on it. And I read the book too. And while we'll get into the remake later in the next episode of this, but which maybe in some ways stayed more faithful to the book and everything. it's one of those cases where, we should talk about this since the subject matter is the adaptations. The thing about, especially when it comes to Stephen King adaptations, is that sometimes there's drastic changes made, and I feel that they're good. I don't know if I'll say for the better. Sometimes maybe for the better, but at least they're good. There's movies I can bring up that I'll bring up where I think that the changes that were made were cool. Like, all right, yeah, I get it. I get why they had to change that. Especially since Stephen King books can go off on tangents.
That's for sure.
And trying to film that, it'll be like a 10-hour movie. Sometimes it's cool. Sometimes it's not so cool at all. In my opinion, when it came to The Shining, I think it was cool. I thought that what it changed, Kubrick kind of made it his own thing. I mean, it's such a Kubrick film. I mean, you look at it, I mean, the thing that I loved about that movie is that the hotel is a character.
Yeah, absolutely.
In and of itself. And I mean, and that's a big King thing anyway, because you could talk about that like with the Marston House, he's big on making inanimate objects kind of like just as much of a character or a central character than any human or animal. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that's a great number 5. That's probably in my list too, and we could talk. Yeah, it is. And we could talk about that when we come to my choice about it. But I mean, so just out of curiosity, so what's your favorite? If you had to pick a favorite scene
from the movie,
yeah. Well, we know it's got to be the chopping through the door scene for obvious reasons.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Right, Megan?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm still traumatized.
Yeah. So,
I mean, that is probably the classic scene that people will know from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Is that? I mean,
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, there's tons of them. I was just curious if there was something.
I mean, the blood coming out of that elevator, that's pretty fucking cool, man.
Yeah, we've been in many hotels over the years when we're touring and we're like, man, look at this shining ass hallway. It's like sometimes you just expect to see like the elevators have the blood or the two little girls or something. Yeah. Yeah, there's that movie probably as much as any or more than any other Stephen King movie, I think, has the most the largest quantity of iconic scenes and lines of dialogue. I mean, it's probably the most quotable one. And, even people that haven't seen that movie, you can reference it and they know what you're talking about. I'd say that there's got to, other ones I'm not, I'm sure, maybe some other ones are close to that, but nothing like The Shining. Yeah. I mean, but cool. Yeah, we could talk about that a little bit more because it's in my list, but it's a little further up there. So.
All right.
Anything else you want to say about The Shining?
No, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into more stuff.
I'll be curious to know if you like the Kubrick or the miniseries remake more.
I haven't seen the remake in a while, so before we do the newer King stuff, I'll have to revisit that. You're going to have
to refresh your mind on it to see if where it stands. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting, for me especially, that's going to be an interesting discussion because I don't have a real clear-cut answer on that at this time. But I'm going to have to do the same thing. We'll have to sit down and watch it and reassess it and stuff. But all right, so my number 5, my list is probably going to be a little weird, I guess, for what a lot of people. Well, because that's the other, people are going to make fun of me probably a little bit for this one. Out of all the movies and adaptations, I think this is an underrated one. But even so, I put it down at the bottom of the list at number 5. I chose 1985's Silver Bullet. Did you ever see Silver Bullet?
No, I have yet to see that one.
Dude.
It's what Gary Busey, isn't it?
It's not about Gary Busey. It's got Gary Busey. He plays the eccentric alcoholic, down on his luck. But
You got to have one of those, right?
oh yeah, alcoholics in Stephen King movies, that never happens. Down on his luck, eccentric guys. Yeah, he plays the uncle to the main kid of the story, which is played by Corey Haim, the legendary Corey Haim. I loved Corey Haim, man. Corey Haim was great. He gets, so caught up in all the unfortunate
Scandal stuff.
All the unfortunate things, that happened to him and those other poor kids back then, man. Terrible. And unfortunately, a lot of people automatically go to that. They either think of that or they think about, oh, those are those kids that were crazy on drugs and, partying. But I really love a lot of Corey Haim's acting, and I liked a lot of his movies, that this was the first one that I really remembered seeing, because then he had stuff like, Lost Boys and Dream a Little Dream and Lucas and things like that. I thought he was great. But in any case, yeah, so Gary Busey and Corey Haim is a winning combination.
Well, Gary Busey by himself is a winning combination, man.
Yeah,
put him in anything. It's
that's
pretty
true. It was just perfect. It was perfect casting in that movie. Everybody was perfectly casted in that movie. I don't care how campy it was at times. Man, Corey Haim just being the handicapped kid who, didn't sit around feeling sorry for himself a whole ton that he was handicapped. It was like he was precocious. He would get into trouble, but he had a good heart, all that kind of stuff. Just wanted to live, loved his crazy uncle. Yeah, and yeah, it was a great movie. The guy, oh shit, I can't think of the name of the guy now that played the werewolf in that movie. I'm sorry if oh yeah, should we say
It's that guy, Larry? What are you don't know that shit?
Yeah, there's going to be spoilers, folks. I mean, I'm sorry if you watch this not thinking there's going to be spoilers, then I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, there's always going to be spoilers. We're not going to not talk about stuff unless maybe we're doing a new movie review or something.
Yeah, then we'll tell you, stay tuned till after.
Yeah, or that kind of
whatever
fucking shit. But yeah, no, since we're talking about movies that are at least 25 to 30 years old or more, yeah, there's going to be spoilers. But the guy that plays the werewolf and everything, that actor,
He's apparently not important because it just says werewolf.
That's it.
There's no name.
No,
he's just a werewolf.
Oh, he's very important because he was in.
Maybe the stunt double plays the actual werewolf, and he's just a dude before the transformation or something.
I'll let you know if I find.
Because he was in The People Under the Stairs.
Okay.
And he was in a couple of war films. He was in some David Lynch stuff, I believe, and everything. Even now, I've seen that guy, photos of that guy recently, and you look at him, and he's just freaky looking. Like he was just the perfect, The only problem I had with that movie, and again, spoilers or whatever, is when you watch it and you don't know who in town the werewolf is. As soon as you fucking see this guy, you're like, oh, that's the fucking look at him, And not that he's all hairy, but he's just got this. He looks.
He has
like
a wolf snout.
He looks like a fucking serial killer, man. And yeah, you'll have to show a photo of him or something in here. We'll definitely pull up a photo now so you can look. I mean, look at that guy. He looks like a fucking serial killer. And great acting. I thought, it was just perfect. Is that he was so intense, and yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a great if you're looking for the kind of movie that isn't overly. Because a lot of the gore is just kind of kept sort of just off screen.
Yeah.
And I'm not, unlike you, I'm not a big gore guy. I don't care much for gore. That doesn't make or break a movie for me. If it's got gore and it makes sense, okay, cool. But I don't get off on movies that are just, blood,
just for no reason at all.
Bloodfest. Yeah. Or just that stuff where people are like, oh my God, it's so fucking brutal. It's like, okay, it's got to have a good story and, everything. But anyway, yeah. So a lot of the gore is more implied or it's real quick and everything. So if you're looking for that kind of movie, that's just kind of like that perfect. And especially, let me say this, if you're into not that it's like that, but if you like the vibe and that time period, if you're into Stranger Things kind of feel, that 1983, 1984, you know, that period and that sort of vibe with the music and that tension, you know, where it was the movies where it was more about that kind of tension and everything that would happen. This is a good movie for that. Like, it kind of falls into that. Like, I feel like at some point on Stranger Things, you'd see the kids sitting around like watching that movie, talking about it and everything. You know, it's got that kind of vibe to me, everything. So yeah, for me, Silver Bullet, you know, and again, I saw it, I was 12 years old or something like that when I saw it, and it was just perfect. Came out right before Halloween, and I think I went with my buddy Steve. We went and saw it at the theater, and it was, you know, for a 12-year-old man, it was like perfect, you know.
Yeah, werewolves and 12-year-olds kind of go hand in hand, I think.
yeah, exactly. You know? And again, at the time, you know, I thought it was a pretty suspenseful movie, man. You know, it was you all right over there?
Yeah, I'm still looking for his name.
Oh, it's all right. We'll come back.
He went by another
They blacklisted
name
him
in the movie.
Well, because he was the Reverend or whatever.
Yeah. He was Everett McGill.
That's it. Everett McGill. Okay. Oh yeah, you know. See, that dude's face is just fucking amazing, man, and his intensity. And you know, we'll talk about it in another episode. But him playing Daddy and People Under the Stairs. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Holy fuck. Okay, yeah, dude, People Under the Stairs.
Is it like a comedy?
Or is it is. It's like a black. It's like a black. And when I say black, I don't mean racial. I mean
actually
it's like
black people in it.
But there is actually. It is, and it's really cool in that respect. Like Ving Rhames is in it and stuff, and the main hero character in that is an African American boy, and he's a badass. It's great. It's a great movie, man. But it's like a dark, whatever you're gonna call it. They call black humor, dark humor. But it's horror too. I mean, it's and again, it's suspenseful. You know, it's King, man, kind of King style. It's not a King story, but it's a King style sort of thing.
It's a Wes Craven.
It's Wes Craven, yeah. But it's probably a little bit more, you know, campy, silly than even, you know, other Wes Craven stuff and everything. It's cool. But anyway, Everett McGill, man, that guy's he's amazing in that. So anyway, I've gone off enough about that. Yeah. So Silver Bullet is my number 5.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. So let's get to your number 4.
Number 4 for me would be Pet Sematary.
Oh, okay.
With my boy Dale Midkiff.
Yeah. All right. So tell me a little bit about.
So this is another movie I saw when I was probably way too young to watch it.
Okay.
And it's a pretty fucked up story when you get down to it, man. And just a sad, sad story, you know.
I was just going to say, so, yeah, I mean, Pet Sematary, it's a good story. It's not one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that ironically, I guess I sort of softened on this stance a little bit over the years, and I'm a little bit more open to it, depending on how it's done. But the one thing that kind of bums me out is when it's stories or movies where there's graphically, whether they show it or it's implied, where it's graphically killing off little kids and animals. And so this movie is based. So that's all this movie was, man. You know, and it's one of those things where, it was scary. It was, you know, at times it was terrifying. I think I was in like high school when that came out and everything, and it was hard for me to really get invested in the scary side of it because I am a sensitive pussy. You know, I admit I am, you know I am. I'm really sensitive about certain things. And in particular,
Jesus Christ,
you and that light over there, man, you just didn't do a good job, dude.
Oh, well.
First episode, we're falling apart, folks.
We're going to hire somebody to just hold it there. That's going to be his or her job, is just to stand there and hold that light up.
I think we need to take like my Creature of the Black Lagoon up there.
He's got the pose ready.
He's got the pose. He needs to just hold it up. He could be our, like, you know, key grip or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, it was just hard for me to fully get wrapped up in the terror of it because it was just like, man, I just couldn't get over, like when I walked out of that, I didn't feel like, whew, like spooked or whatever. I was just like, man, that's fucking depressing.
Yeah.
Like it was more sad. It was hard to even get angry, because when it was Gage, was that his name?
The kid, yeah.
Gage, when he comes back to life and all this stuff.
I played with mommy. Now I want to play with you.
Right. I mean, it's hard for you to be like, kill that motherfucker. Fucking murder that little motherfucker. You're just like, man, that's fucking miserable, And it was just, I will revisit a subject matter shortly, but that comes from a period in King's writing and time when he started really getting a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean people be like, well, Stephen King, it's fucking weird. No, I mean like just weird where it's like, what was he thinking with some of the things that he started getting really particularly sadistic towards children, and not just in like violent ways. Yeah, you know what I'm probably going to get into. But
with Pet Sematary, he actually, after he finished writing it, he's like, I've gone too far with my writing. I cannot release this book. And he put it into a drawer for months.
Right.
And then he needed to fulfill a contract. And his wife was like, well, why don't you think about doing this story? He's like,
Just
I
put
don't
it
know,
out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least he had the prescience or whatever to kind of realize that. Because, exactly. That's kind of how I felt. It was weird. It was weird because I enjoyed Pet Sematary.
But it's kind of like, why would you write that subject matter?
But it was just such a downer, like I said, it wasn't even so much terrifying to me, even though it was in ways. It wasn't so much terrifying as it was sad and depressing and stuff, which, like I said, now as I'm a little bit older and I've got a different view on things and stuff, I can appreciate it more. And I do think it's really well done. And it's an interesting twist, what a twist. It's an interesting twist on things, but that as good as that is, in a lot of ways, that couldn't make my list.
Yeah.
But I don't blame you. I mean, it's, and especially you being at your age when you probably saw that. Yeah, that had to really be twisted.
And now I have a different appreciation for it because I don't have kids of my own, but I have nephews that I adore, kind of like my own kids. So that movie just affects me in a different kind of way. It's like, how far would you go to bring back something you love? Like, would you do that knowing that he's gonna come back fucked up? Because you saw what happened to the cat. You're like, that's gonna happen. Judd even told you, listen, you can't bring people back because they come back bad. It's not gonna work out good for you,
Right, because Herman Munster, right, said to him, he said, sometimes dead's better.
A man's heart is stonier.
Yeah. So, exactly. I mean, that's why I said it's a really interesting subject matter. It's definitely, especially, now it's not so, I mean, they've done so much worse, crazier shit.
I mean,
we won't even need to get into it, but at the time, especially like I said, being whatever I was, 16 or something at the time, I was like, wow, okay. Like it just put me in a funk, but that is a good point, man. For that and the animals, man, because I'm not big on the concept of that. It's all sad. Yeah. I mean, all death is sad. I mean, all these movies deal with fucking murders and death usually, so don't get me wrong, but it's just funny how, there's certain things, and it's not just that, well, the kid died or whatever, because that happened in Salem's Lot too, It was the tone of it. Yeah, it was the fact that it was the father and that all this horror happened because it was simply just born out of him just so desperately wanting to bring his kid back. It's, So, great storytelling, but
just leaves kind of a bad taste in your mouth.
Just a total downer, Yeah, exactly.
You're up here, buddy.
Yeah, all right. So, my number 4. So, one thing we didn't really mention earlier when we were kind of talking about King in general and his backstory is that he's not, even though he's known for being predominantly like a horror type writer, he's not all horror. He's done some amazing stuff, that is completely outside of that realm, getting into the 90s when he had like Shawshank Redemption and Green Mile, some which are both amazing stories. I really like those stories. They didn't, for various reasons, they didn't make my top 5. Like I said, real good, but just one stood out more to me. I've only got one in my top 5 that's from that not horror
type
kind of thing. Because it was the first one for me like that, I was just astonished that it was taken from a King story. It was taken from a story called The Body. And my number 4 is Stand By Me. Sure, most people that are listening, watching this and stuff are familiar with that movie because it's an absolute classic, whether you're a King fan or not. It's a great, great movie. Rob Reiner. I believe that was Rob Reiner's first directorial, I think it was his debut. Yeah, pretty sure. I know that, again, I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but if I recall correctly, Norman Lear, from All in the Family fame and everything, I believe he actually helped fund that movie because they couldn't get people behind it at first. Believe it or not. Isn't that always the way? The ones that wind up being like the breakout blockbuster.
Is it because you think it was tied to Stephen King that it was not a horror film, or is it just they didn't think?
I think I forget exactly what the hoopla was that caused it to not get picked up initially or not get supported. But I think part of it was because Rob Reiner was an untested, unproven director.
They just didn't trust him enough.
Most people thought of him. You say Rob Reiner, even today with as much as he's done, most people immediately go, "Oh, Meathead," it's fucking Meathead from Michael Stivic, right? Yeah, from All in the Family. Oh, fucking Meathead. Yeah, that movie that was made by Meathead. I can't tell you how many people I hear say things like that when you talk about, the Rob Reiner movie. Oh, that fucking Meathead movie. Yeah, that one. So yeah, I think that was it. But in any case, Lear felt strongly enough about it that he put like millions of dollars into it to help it along. And anyway, long story short, it did finally get made, and it's an incredible story. I mean, it's funny that even though it's not in the horror realm, even though it does center around a dead kid, here we go again with more kid. He's on his role in the 80s of like, let's fucking kill kids. But again, I mean, it had purpose. There was a point to it, and the fact that it was and the thing that I liked about that subject matter in this movie was that it really mattered that it was a dead kid, and even though it was a teenager or whatever, but still essentially a kid. It mattered that it was a dead kid. It affected the other characters in the movie accordingly because it was a dead kid that they were, and it shows. And I love the part of what I love about it is that it doesn't start out that way. It starts out with these four kids wanting to go find this body of Ray Brower. We found the body of Ray Brower. Yeah, I hear Richard Dreyfuss's voice in my head, who played the narrator, the grown-up Gordy LaChance. It starts out with those kids wanting to go find this body just because it's cool, like we're gonna get, we're gonna be famous, man. It's something to, it's something to do, kind of thing. And that as they go on this journey and they're at that age of, what were they supposed to be, like 12 or something like that, that they're maturing, they're going,
it's kind of pretty much a coming of age type of
coming
story,
of age,
right?
exactly, yes. And I think that, and with that coming of age, it was that, by the end of that journey, when they did finally find the kid, it wasn't like, wow, neat. It was that they were all in their own different ways very moved by it, for some personal reasons, like with Gordy and stuff. See, when it's done in that way, that's the kind of writing that Stephen does, that I'm like, that's when he's firing on all cylinders, man. That's when it's like, this isn't just people being dead for shock and awe.
Yeah.
You know, this
There's
is like,
purpose to that.
There's some depth here and meaning of life and meaningfulness of life and everything. Yeah. So that, you know, and I saw that, ironically, when I saw that movie, I was 12 years old. So it impacted me in that way too, because, you know, there's a lot of funny parts in that movie. You know, there's another one that's quotable, a lot of great stuff, of course. And one of the things wasn't that like, I don't know if it was his debut, but it was the big like bust out of fellow mega geek himself, Mr.
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton. Yeah. What are you not? You're not a fan?
No, I like Will Wheaton. I just don't like it when you say it like that.
Yeah. Sorry.
With the Cool Whip thing going
Oh
on, you
my-
don't like that?
Don't. No. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah, he's got poor Will's got to be so fucking tired of that by now. It's like, thanks, Family Guy.
I'm sure every convention he does, 1 or 3 to 7 jagoffs come up to him.
I would have to say 2 out of every 3 jagoffs at various nerd conventions come up and have to do the Cool Whip thing to him.
Or shut up, Wesley.
Yeah, shut up, Wesley. Yeah. At the same time, I mean, he seems to take it like in good stride, you know, because he is, you know, one of us.
Yeah.
One of us. He is, you know, admittedly a big, you know, nerd. He's
Yeah.
a big geek about this stuff and everything, and he knows his shit. But yeah, I mean, he was incredible. I've always been, I liked Wesley. I mean, I understood that he could. That was the nature of the character, you know, Wesley
I
Crusher.
wanted to be Wesley, man, because I was kind of around that same age. I was like,
Right.
dude, he gets to fucking sit on the bridge with all these, you know, senior staff, and he like can fly the ship and do all this
Seriously,
stuff.
his
It's like,
mom is fucking smoking hot.
fuck yeah, she is, dude.
Dude.
Oh my god, she's so sexy.
Oh yeah, you know, he could walk in and just stare at like Deanna Troy's ass and that fucking onesie thing all fucking day. You know, just look up to fucking Riker and just be like, that guy's fucking badass.
Fuck yeah, he
you
is,
know,
man.
And just be like, I'm gonna be that dude someday. Bang my own Counselor Troy. You know? Sorry, Megan.
Yeah, you guys kind of got off track there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
true.
So
Save it.
say
We'll
that.
start
Thank
back.
you.
Exactly.
Thank you,
exactly.
Megan.
But anyway, so incredible cast in Stand By Me. I mean, incredible cast. You know, you had Will Wheaton, the late River Phoenix,
Yeah.
who was incredible in that. Corey Feldman, the other Corey, who I love Corey Feldman. Fuck the haters. I love Corey Feldman. I think he's funny. He's naturally funny. He's character. He's been in some of my favorite movies. This is one of them. I could do a Corey Feldman episode, man, just talking about
His dubstep career or just his movie?
his many Michael Jackson-ish, you know, incarnations and stuff and dance moves and everything. Hey, man, Corey Feldman, he's a character, but he's fucking talented, dude. And I mean, he was amazing in that fucking movie, you know. Then little fucking fat ass Jerry O'Connell.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that, yeah, he turned his shit around.
He
didn't
did, man. Fucking Sliders, Mission to Mars. That was some of his best work, man.
Yeah, exactly. And see, and that's the
Piranha
thing.
3D.
Yeah, that's you know, yeah. Well, yeah, when you know, I never really thought about it. That cast for Stand By Me, man, that is like a primo, like geek cast. I mean, not that they were geeks, but for the geeks, like it was because
Yeah.
you had you know that connection with O'Connell. You had Feldman with you know, God, so many things. You know, Lost Boys. You know, different
Yeah.
Goonies.
Goonies, yeah.
You know, you know, Will Wheaton, obviously, as we said, Kiefer Sutherland, you know, another Lost Boys, 24, you know.
Dark City, was that the alien one?
I
think
think
it was
so.
Dark City.
Yeah. That really good movie. What was that movie that came out in 1990? The one with him and Julia Roberts, with the whole thing where they're like med students that are like experimenting.
Oh, Flatliners?
Flatliners.
Yeah.
I saw that at the theater. And
Did ya?
that movie was fucking awesome at the time. I could probably watch it. I've heard people kind of bash it a little bit now and everything. And I'm like, dude, you know, again, when I was like 18 years old or whatever, like that movie was bitchin'. Cool concept, you know. But anyway, yeah, you know, John Cusack, cameo role in it. You don't like John Cusack?
No, not really.
Fuck, dude, I love John
Well,
Cusack.
Cusack was in 1408, which is a Stephen King adaptation
That's
as well.
yeah. So okay,
Yeah.
so further King.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, I know I love Chicago Boy,
Yeah.
John and Joan. Yeah, I like both of them. But anyway, yeah. So a great cast, great story. Richard Dreyfuss, like I said earlier, as the narrator, which is the perfect, voice, and of course. Richard Dreyfuss, I got it because someday we'll end up talking about Close Encounters, man. Because
That's like your fucking shit right
that's
there, dude.
my fucking shit right there. Close Encounters, Jaws.
Jaws, yeah.
Yeah, Richard Dreyfuss is the fucking my boy. Yeah, so anyway, so yeah, man, that's it, man. I think that, like I said, to finish up on number 4 is just, I think out of all of his so-called non-horror things, that one for me was the most impactful, especially because I was coming of age when I saw that coming of age film.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, Stand By Me. So,
There
all
you
right,
go.
number 3 for you.
Number 3 for me is Misery.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
Got
like
another
that one?
Misery fan here.
I'm with you.
Oh, yeah. So I don't remember if I saw this on TV first or when I was a kid, I used to rent a shit ton of movies from the library.
Oh, okay.
I used to rent a bunch of Stephen King stuff from the library, and Misery I would rent a few times a year, man. I just adore that movie so much. The whole concept of this author that he finally finishes a novel, he's heading home, gets into an accident, his number one fan in the entire world happens to come across him, takes him in,
Right.
and she's this fucking psychotic bitch who will not let him leave. And this dude's trapped here. It's just like, that's going to be so weird because she knows everything about him, and yet she like wants to fucking make sure no one ever gets to him ever again. That's just such a fucked up concept.
It is a fucked up concept. And, it might even be hard for some people to grasp that concept. And, I mean, mind you, folks, look, I'm not even going to try to... It's not like me and you and our band. It's not like we're fucking Guns N' Roses or some shit. We're like a million miles away from ever being that popular or successful or whatever. But we've had some modicum of success. And we've encountered some crazy... I probably shouldn't even be talking about this publicly, should I? But we've encountered some doozies, man, over the years. Luckily, nobody that's ever like hobbled our ankles or anything like that. But yeah, we've encountered a few people like that, like people that you have to kind of you meet some people out there that are fans of your work and everything, and then after like I said, we're for folks that don't know, we're very approachable. Online, in person, everything. We're not the kind of people that try to put distance between ourselves and fans or whatever. We love talking to people. We love meeting people. And we feel that everybody's on the same level. But that being said, I've met a few people that after talking to them a little bit, I was like, oh, okay, I might have to take a little step backwards here.
You have crossed the line that you should not have crossed here.
There's some people that just get a little bit too, not even just physically, but just things they say and things they imply, and you're just going, oh, okay, yeah, this isn't somebody I should give like my home address to kind of thing, and I hate to say that because I mean, and understand that is a rare exception. To the rule, because most people are cool, normal, whatever. But every now and then you meet those ones, and yeah, you got to be careful of that shit. So watching that movie, there's a few things in there that make you just, yeah. I think it would anyway, but there's certain things that happen in there where I'm like, oh yeah, I've kind of felt that weird feeling before. Yeah, she did an amazing job in that movie.
Kathy Bates.
Oh yeah, dude. That was definitely her real breakout. I mean, people were just blown away at how well she portrayed that. She's a great actress, man. I love a lot of things she's done. Another movie I love is like Fried Green Tomatoes.
I've never seen that, but yeah, I know.
Oh,
That's
it's
a
great,
good one.
great story, and the book's even better. I love the book, but she's just a really awesome, diverse actress and stuff. Yeah, she's great in it. Of course, what's his face? James Caan. Yeah, James Caan. You know,
Another good cast, man.
Fuck yeah, exactly. That's the thing that I really think. Speaking so far, I know you've got more too, but speaking for our lists, one of the real standout things is that the casts are particularly phenomenal. You know, you look at, like I said, I think even like a campy movie like Silver Bullet, phenomenal cast. Stand By Me, phenomenal cast. The Shining, phenomenal cast. Misery, phenomenally cast. It's
that early King stuff that they just kind of got, man. The 90s series. I mean,
when things are, I mean, it really does make a difference when they're cast with just the right people. Because I mean, I mean, I guess I'd have to see it, but you could try to redo Misery, and you could try to cast 2 other actors in those roles now. I don't know, man. That dynamic that Kathy and James had was just incredible. That sort of vulnerability that he had, and James Caan is a fucking great actor. You know, another one that I was a big fan of from an early age, because when I was young, I was exposed to him, and I saw Godfather, and early. I was really young, still in single digits when I saw Godfather, and I was old enough, at least cognizant enough, to realize that it was a fucking incredible movie. Rollerball. Did you ever see Rollerball?
No.
Dude, fuck. That's another...
Like 75 or 77
man,
something?
yeah. We'll see. That's getting added to the list, man. That's another one we got to talk about. That's incredible, ahead of its time movie. But yeah, James Caan's fabulous, man. So yeah, that's a good... Not in my list again. You know what? I'll throw it in now. Misery would be an honorable mention for me. I'll definitely, we'll talk about honorable mentions later, but that would be an honorable mention for me. That's a tough movie also for me and for my mom, because without getting too personal, my grandmother for most of her life was bedridden because she had polio. And, if you know anything about polio, it affects your muscles and ability to move and stuff. So, and my grandmother was one of the sweetest, most wonderful women I've ever met, and she never complained and everything, but she had to be taken care of. She had to have people that would come and take care of her and all this kind of stuff. And as her family, daughter and grandson and all that kind of stuff, we were, the thought of anybody abusing her, when she was helpless like that, but was always, especially for like my mom was always real paranoid about that, about people taking care of her mother, because grandma couldn't do anything. She couldn't fight back. She couldn't. So when my mom read that book and he was getting into, the fact that he was bedridden and couldn't do anything, and this woman that was just physically and mentally torturing him, my mom was like, yeah,
because the book is really brutal.
Yes, the book is way worse. Yeah, the book's worse.
I think the movie's more believable in like a real life scenario, because the book, Kathy Bates, Annie Wilkes character is almost a little superhuman towards the end there. I mean,
yeah. And I was going to say that's a good example of where, that's another one. Obviously, I'd say that's why they're in our top 5s, but that's another example of where I say changing things that were adapted and changed from the book that I prefer in a lot of ways. I actually prefer the movie to the book, although the book is good.
Yeah, the book is good, but I think the movie, they nailed what they needed to nail from the story and just made it, how they're doing it. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So cool. Then my number 3 is The Shining, which we've already talked about and everything. Like everything I said earlier. I mean, it's just an amazing movie. And, especially, everybody tends to talk about Jack Nicholson, which, I mean, he was amazing in it. Everybody's great in it. Scatman Crothers, he's great, man. Seriously, I mean, it was like, he was perfect for that role. I loved it. But Shelley Duvall, man, people just need to.
They rag on her so much, dude.
Dude, she was amazing in that. Just so vulnerable. We talked about this before, but like, yeah, that was what I really took away from it. When I finally saw it, and everybody was like, "Oh, Jack Nicholson," and I got that, But for me, the real standout performance in that was Shelley Duvall. I just thought she was great. I'm a Shelley Duvall fan though too, so because I like other stuff she's been in. Olive Oil.
Oh, that's right.
Fucking. The Popeye movie is one of my all-time favorite movies, man.
Robin Williams?
Dude.
God, that movie's so bad.
No, it's
Dude,
not.
it's awful.
There's nothing wrong with that fucking movie. Why does everybody think it's so bad? What is wrong with that? It's fucking Popeye. Watch it. It's just a live-action version of the fucking cartoon. Y'all haters, man. Anyways, so, yeah, so...
We know his button to push.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, dude, don't diss Popeye. I know a lot of people do, man. A lot of people don't like the music and all that, but I think that movie was fucking great. Anyway, so yeah, we don't need to go on too long about The Shining and everything. But yeah, I for me it's one of those ones that I never get tired of. I still get suspenseful when I feel that, suspense when I watch it. I've seen it, 100 times, like I said, I could talk a little bit more about it, but I'm going to save that for when we get into...
Before you move on, didn't you have a story you wanted to tell with that?
Oh,
What was that?
that's my number 2. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay.
It was a threat that someone made. I think you told us about.
Yes,
Yeah, you said you wanted to bring it up.
I know what you're talking about. Well, there you go.
The
Perfect segue.
Ooh, jinx.
Buy me a Coke.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. My number 2.
Uh-huh.
Man, I almost put this in number 1, guys. I really did. This is The Langoliers.
I can't believe you didn't put that at number 1, man. As for any of you who have seen, who might have seen our little commercial vignette thing that we did for this episode, knows that Vito that was not all acting, folks.
He was
Vito,
very happy.
That's me, like, every day. Seriously, like,
he digs the shit out of this movie. Vito is a full-fledged Langoliers
since
fan.
day number 1, guys, for real. This movie just... I'm a big Twilight Zone fan and those kind of stories. This movie obviously is pretty much a Twilight Zone rip-off straight up.
Right. That makes sense.
But to me, there's like this mystery surrounding it that I don't think people get. They just, man, the movie's got awful special effects.
It's not just that. It's not just that. It's that, yeah, that movie didn't do the story any favors, man, because all the acting in that movie, every bit of the fucking acting in that movie is so over the top, man. Like, it's hard to between that and those fucking special effects. Oh my God.
I will admit the special effects aren't great, but it's not a special effects driven story.
Yeah,
it's a mystery that even when I still watch it, I'm like, man, this is really good. I love it, man. The sense of just you're going somewhere with a bunch of people and you wake up and everybody is gone. You're sitting there by yourself wondering what the fuck just happened, and then slowly putting the pieces together. People think they have different theories of what happened to them, and all that stuff is very, very interesting to me.
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And that's kind of what my problem is with it at the same time, is because the story itself is so potentially compelling, and it just gets kind of overshadowed by the, like, ridiculous.
By Belky, is that what you're trying to say?
Well, by Belky and by pseudo Captain Kirk, and there, I too am a mystery writer. And yeah.
Dear boy.
Yeah.
I deduce.
And I deduce that. Yeah, that and even little, like I said in the vignette, the little Davy Jones kid, everybody's acting in that. It took it away from me, and it made it hard to really get into that, which, to be fair, is also a popular criticism of my number 2.
Okay.
So we can talk about that. So I'll give you yours because mine is, kind of the same thing. Well, it's kind of the same thing about my number 1 too, come to think about it as we know. But yeah, it's a cool story. I totally get that the Twilight Zone kind of connection to it, because it is that kind of thing. And so you got, I don't know, I don't think I've ever asked you this before, but man, I mean, so we've traveled so much in the 15 years since you've been in the band and everything, and we've done how many transatlantic flights, and going to Europe, going to South America, going to Canada. It's obviously not transatlantic, but you know what I mean, long flights and everything. You got to think about that movie probably every time we're on a fucking
plane. If I get a window seat, I'm looking out the window for that fucking vagina in the sky for sure, dude.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God.
Yeah. See, I thought you'd be looking out the window for a giant fucking mecha shark coming at you. Holy shit.
I do hope for that scenario as well. But
yeah, we can always hope, man. Maybe if we ever, maybe when we're flying, next time we're flying over the Pacific, maybe you'll get lucky and some giant shark will jump up and try to bite the plane. Anyway, that's a whole other episode. But yeah, I think about it. It's funny. Like there's times when I fall asleep on the plane and everything when we're flying to Prague or something. I'll like wake up in the middle of flight and it's like it crosses my mind for like a hot second, being like, would it be like, okay, everybody's here, like that would be fucked up, because that's just, yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. The story in and of itself is so potentially, suspenseful and everything, but just the acting. And I mean, but the over the top acting makes it enjoyable in a different level way. Yeah, in a different kind of way. Just, even though I know we made fun of the whole plane rant thing and everything. I don't know why, but always been my favorite scene, because I I latch onto silly little things. But my favorite scene is when Belky is Bronson's, when he's running to the meeting and he's like like, what is that run? Like, even the way he runs is like, he couldn't even just like sprint. It's like this fucking like running to that fucking imaginary meeting on the fucking
tarmac or whatever.
It reminded me of like it would be like the behavior of your hepped up, overtired, ate way too many Cheetos and soda like nephew. 7-year-old nephew, like when they come, when you're like, get on up to bed, and they're like, I don't want to. Like, yeah, I don't want to go, like flopping all around and shit. That's my favorite part. I love that part. I know what your favorite part of the Langoliers is. It's the jump at the end.
Oh, yeah, for sure, dude. That freeze frame. Yeah. Dude, it is so fucking awesome. I love it. Are we the new people? Oh, dude. I don't understand why people don't like this fucking movie, man.
I have no idea. Why would anybody not like this fucking movie? It's a fucking masterpiece.
Oh, man.
Dude. Yeah, no, it is entertaining. I'll give it that. It's entertaining. And yeah, and I don't I'll give you that. All right. It's, I know it's your favorite, and we've gotten a lot of mileage out of it, so it's good for something. So my number 2, which I believe is your number 1. Sorry, I'm trumping you on this.
That's all right.
I don't mean that. Is It.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, obviously, because like I said, we're not talking about the remakes and stuff, the 1990 miniseries of It. Yeah, it was weird when that came out. Like, there was no hype or anything for me. I didn't know it was coming out. I had no idea. I'd read the book. I read the book first. Like I said, because through the 80s, I mostly read the books. I didn't watch too many of the movies. I'll get into a reason also why I didn't watch too many of the movies. Because, we'll wait on that. Anyway, but when I remember I went with like my family over to my grandmother's house. I guess it was on a Sunday night, wasn't it, that it premiered?
I think so.
Then it was like over a Sunday and a Monday.
Yeah, or Sunday and Tuesday or something like that.
Something to that effect. Yeah. So I had no idea it was going to be on, and we walked in right around 7:00 or whatever it was, and she had, I guess it was ABC, on, and all of a sudden they were talking about, Stephen King coming up now, the ABC Sunday night movie, and I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know they were doing this, So I spent the whole rest of the night, like I didn't even hang out with my family. It was like big family. I sat in the other room, like watching this movie. I loved it, man. I mean, kind of like the Langoliers. I mean, production value, not the greatest. Definitely not the greatest special effects you've ever seen in your life. Even
they weren't bad. I mean,
they're pretty bad. No, they're pretty bad. Have you watched it lately?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I
no,
don't think
sorry, they're bad. They're real bad, man. I mean, dude.
Why are you being facetious?
No, I actually don't think they're that bad.
No, he's being serious. That's the scary part.
The claymation shower show.
That's what I was.
What?
Dude, are you kidding? You really think that was good?
I like it. It's charming. I miss the stop motion claymation type of stuff like that, man. It had a certain appeal to it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like when I'm seeing a scene that, you're this like tween kid and you're in the showers and which is kind of a weird, scary. Wow, what is that? Airplane?
That's O'Hare Airport.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we said we're in Chicago, folks,
and we just talked about the Langoliers, bro.
Oh, dude.
Buddy.
Snap.
Fucking coming for us.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Langoliers are coming after me for making fun of the fucking shitty fucking CG or whatever it is. It wasn't even CG.
They're going to get your scampering ass.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick, I'm going to backtrack for a second because she brought it up and I didn't. So
your story here.
So the one thing about the story is that, my wife's friend actually, a friend she had growing up actually had parents who used to threaten her as a little girl with the Langoliers.
Dude, I would have loved to act it up in her house, man. Just to get punished to watch that movie.
Well, no, but I mean, she would threaten her and say the Langoliers are coming. Like she told this little girl that they existed.
They're like Balky's father, huh?
Yeah, like they did that to this poor fucking kid. It's like, it's bad enough when it's in the movie, but somebody actually used that as like a punishment. Like, that's fucked up, dude. I mean,
Parents do what they got to do.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
had a monster that I was scared of. So.
Yeah.
Was it your pet monster?
He wasn't a pet.
No.
I was too scared to go to the lake to check him out. So they do what they got to do to keep you in check.
Well, they didn't do anything to me to keep me in check, but I had enough of my own childhood. That's a whole other episode. When we get into that with the cat, okay. Anyway, yeah, so so that was good thing that the Langolier plane like let me know that to remember to tell that story. But anyway, as far as it goes, sorry, contrary to what Vito says, the effects are not always that effective. Some of the effects are cool, but some of them not so much. And again, some of the acting, the kids' acting, I thought was great.
Yeah, dude,
they
kids, nailed that cast once again.
Great cast. I really like the way they, that's how I pictured them in my head. But by and large, that is how I pictured all of them, from Georgie through to Henry and all them. I think they really nailed that cast. What was it, Jonathan Brandis? Was that his name? Yeah, right. Rest in peace to that poor dude. He was great.
Bill Dunn
Totally believable is stuttering Bill, man. Like, just great job. Seth Green, man. Seth Green.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. Another fellow geek, man. He's unabashedly into that shit too. Great cast. Adult cast, pretty good.
I liked him fine enough, man.
Yeah,
John Ritter was fucking
I
awesome.
love John
that
Ritter.
guy, man.
John
This
Ritter is great. I love
Harry Anderson. I know people give him shit, but
No, dude,
I thought he was great.
Harry Anderson was great, and I totally perfect for that. I thought he was a perfect, Richie. I mean that's what I would have expected.
Annette O'Toole as Beverly. I thought she was.
I always,
I had a crush on her.
Me
man.
too,
Ooh.
man. Annette O'Toole is just
yeah.
gorgeous. Yeah,
From that movie and Superman 3, bro.
Yeah. Lana Lang.
Jesus.
Yeah. No, she's wonderful. Yeah, I really like the cast. Like I can't complain about any of the actors. Maybe it had more to do with the directing. I think that there was certain deliveries and certain things that I was
I can see that,
that could have been better, But and then fucking, Tim Curry. I mean, he was. I mean, I can't say that I was scared by it because at the age that I saw it, I'd already read the book. I can't sit there and say that it like scared me the way it probably scared you.
Mhm.
But but it was intense. It was creepy and hilarious at the same time, which it's fucking Tim Curry, So, that's why that one is like way up there, not my favorite, but close. I just think that's an incredible movie, series that is a little underrated, I think. I know there's other people who say, what do you mean underrated? It's people are very divided on it. I seem to always meet people that either dig the shit out of it or people just bash the shit out of it. I don't find a lot of people that are in the middle that are like, it was okay. So I dig the shit out of it. I can make fun of it too, big time. I would love if we did, and I know other people like Nostalgia Critic and plenty of other people have already done it, but still I would love to do an episode just about it.
Yeah, and most of those guys always focus on the negatives to make a joke out of it. And there's a ton of positive stuff that we can focus on.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, we don't have enough time here to really get into it because it is a long story. Yeah. But I'd love to talk more about it sometime. And there is a lot of positives. And there's a lot of interesting shit to talk about in terms of the book because and we'll talk maybe more about some of that when we get into because I definitely want to talk about the remake.
Definitely.
There's a lot to talk about.
That's one straight up surprised me when I watched it. Yeah. In a good way.
Mm-hmm.
In a good way.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with that, and we'll talk about that in the second Stephen King episode that'll be coming out at some point. And we'll get into some other more controversial things then. But yeah, so for me, it is just it's the bomb, man.
It's the bomb diggity, yo.
Yep.
So moving on, my number one is obviously It.
Right.
The
so I mean, if you got anything more to say about it.
And the reason I did put it up to number one is because that's the definitive Stephen King movie, whatever TV series that got me into King. So I have to give it up for that.
I suppose that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, right. And that kind of leads me to my number one. Which, because it was the same thing, obviously people might have guessed from what we talked about earlier. My number one is Salem's Lot from 1979. I just, it was, we can poke fun at it plenty. I can too, especially as an adult. I can roll my eyes at a lot of things. And I know for a lot of people it's slow paced, which...
That's an understatement.
But hey, so is the books. I mean... a lot of his books are slower paced and everything. And, I don't know. I think it's one of those cases. When it comes to me with horror and stuff, I like slower pacing a lot of times. Mm-hmm. I know that isn't necessarily in vogue with a lot of people. And they kind of want to cut to it, I don't know. For me, things like that, the stuff that really resonates with me, and probably because it's the stuff I saw first when I was young. Yeah. Things like Salem's Lot, things like the first Exorcist movie, which, as great as that is, a lot of people criticize and say it takes too long to get to blah, blah, blah. There's too much quiet, silent part.
But that was the 70s style, right? For horror.
It was the 70s style, and to me, that's the kind of shit that scares me. I've told this to other people when we talk about things. People automatically When you think about horror and you think about scary things and you think about nighttime, middle of the night, pure darkness, blah, blah, blah. And to me, sometimes some of the scariest times is like in a shadowy, barely, half lit room in an old house at like 4 PM, in the fall when the sun's kind of starting to go down. But I've been in kind of situations and places like that and it like I get more of like a chill up my spine at those moments than I do sometimes when I'm out in the middle of, a creepy field at 1 AM, which I have been. It's because of my other job and stuff that I do. A lot of times I am in those situations. And to me, Salem's Lot brings out a lot of that. Salem's Lot really, it just brings on like a creeping dread. My favorite scene in that whole movie, and there's quite a few, but my favorite scene in the whole movie, again, spoilers, is when it's towards the end and David Soul and the boy Mark, I think it was
Mark Petrie.
Yeah, they are in the basement of the Marston house, and they're going to try and finally kill the master and Barlow, and the sun, they've got like very little time. Sun's going down. You see, they keep showing that sun like going lower in the window. It feels like everything's working against them. It's like when you have a dream and you got to do something and like you keep moving slower and you're like, why? That's the feeling I get from that scene. And then and then when he's sitting there, Mark's in there with the sprained ankle or whatever, and he's kind of a little bit immobile, and then you see those vampires creeping up slowly out of the darkness in that crawl space. Because fucking, let's face it, people, crawl spaces are fucking creepy, man. They are. And everything. Like, that's the kind of shit that even now I've watched that. I've literally seen Salem's Lot. I'm not exaggerating when I say probably seen it 200 or 300 times. Because it was one of those ones that when I was a kid, like when I was a teen, I mean, I would watch that movie few times a month, you know what I mean? Like me and my friends, I know it inside and out. That's why I know all the dialogue and even like the silly little things, like I'm sick, I'm real sick. and little things that make me laugh, like that fucking broad going, telephone. Who thought that was a good take, man? Like that was the take you took. She could barely even. Anyway, whatever. But it was the 70s filmmaking, made for TV. Also, I should say, directed by Tobe Hooper.
Tobe Hooper.
So that in and of itself too, that was kind of like a big breakthrough for him after Texas Chainsaw, man. So yeah, just for me. Plus, I've always been into Dracula type stories. I've always liked vampires. I've always liked Dracula type stuff. King was admittedly very influenced by the Dracula story. Wanted to bring it on to.
You want to bring Dracula to like New York City in modern times,
kind of thing, yeah. Or to like New York City. Of course, we have to say that every fucking King story is in Maine. Almost every one of them. But he admitted that was his big influence and everything. So I mean that works for me. I also have always been a big fan of like classic like Nosferatu and stuff like that. Even like whether it's the old one or the Klaus Kinski, Nosferatu from Elisa. I always liked that kind of vampire and stuff. So the master, and people kind of laugh at it and shit. I'm like, I get it. Yeah, it is one of those things you can kind of laugh at, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I wouldn't want that motherfucker all of a sudden popping up in my kitchen like he did.
Right.
You wouldn't be laughing then, motherfuckers. But so I mean, just for me, because same thing. That's the one that started it for me. It really influenced in a big way what I find to be suspenseful and scary and everything. And it's slow, it's campy in that late 70s way and everything. The disco shorts on people and things like that take you out of it a little bit.
She looked good in them though.
And that other fucking scrub whose name, let's just get this fucking elephant in the room out of the way, my name is Larry. And all through growing up, I'm well aware.
Larry Crockett.
I do not have a cool name by any stretch of the imagination.
Larry Crockett.
Yeah,
King
fuck
of the
you.
Wild Frontier.
Yeah, but I mean, Larry Crockett, realtor. Yeah, it's like in everything, especially it started in the fucking 70s. They started that shit. The nerdy neighbor, the nerdy kid down the street, the nerdy guy, the kind of doofy guy was always Larry. Always is Larry. Every
Tough break,
time.
kid.
I know, tough break. I know. Couldn't be fucking Harry. Couldn't be goddamn Gary. Jerry, Barry, all those kind of, get a fair even shake, but not Larry.
At least it's not fairy.
Oh yeah, you think I wasn't called Fairy Larry a bunch of times throughout my fucking life? God, I've heard that so many times. Fuck. So, anyway, but yeah, so fuck him for making that character Larry. But at least he was banging the fucking hot pants chick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Good old hot pants chick, man.
maybe he may be a bit of a fucking loser dorky guy, but he got the booty.
Got that
He
booty.
did get the booty. He also got that big ass fucking
Shotgun in the face.
shotgun.
That booty got a price, bro.
Yeah, exactly. He paid the price because first he got the shotgun in the face, then he got the fucking big hand in the face. That fucking that's the other thing that is like I told you guys before, my favorite. I love the whole fucking stop and freeze frame and zoom in.
Yeah.
That's just so hilarious, man. They did that to try and be like scary, and it's like I don't think that worked at all,
Not
man.
at all,
That
man.
made me laugh. That always made me laugh, even when I was a kid. So anyway, yeah, that's my number one, man, and there we have it.
Yeah.
So our number one's Salem's Lot and It, and I guess no real surprise that the two that started our whole love of Stephen King
Made it to number one, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to give it up to those guys, man.
Yeah, exactly. As campy as they are, and of their time, that's what impressed us and got us to this point. So real quick, we've been going real long, and we know it's kind of long, folks, but it is the first episode, so we had to kind of set everything up. But we promise in the future we'll keep them a little shorter and stuff, and we might do multi-part stuff. But for this one, we just kind of wanted to really get it out there. As it is, we're having to break this up because we're going to talk more about King in the future.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be great to have more opportunity to have people actually give us their input. I'd love to be able to talk about some of that when we do the next episode.
Yeah, in the comments, put what your favorite King movies are and how you would rank them.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let us know.
But real quick, so let's just talk about honorable mentions real fast. You want me to talk about mine? You want to go with yours?
Yeah, I can. Well, I'm going to be breaking a little rule here, I think,
Okay.
with the honorable mention.
All right. I'm curious.
Because it's one that came out in the mid 2000s, which is
Okay.
past our classic. But I guess I'll just put it in here for now.
Well, if you want to, we
Yeah.
can talk about it. It's an honorable mention, so we could talk about it more
Yeah, just-
when we get to the next
yeah,
one.
yeah. So I'll just name it. It's just The Mist from 2007, I believe.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Okay. Yeah, well, definitely. I'd like to talk more about that one when we do the next
Yeah.
episode. For me, my first honorable mention is 1983's The Dead Zone.
That's a good one.
And again, we don't need to talk too much about it because it will fall into the later days, late 90s or whatever was early 2000s, the remakes, because they did do the series
Mm-hmm.
based on The Dead Zone as well. So I will talk a little bit more about that when we talk about that. But fabulous movie. I mean, it's got, Christopher Walken.
Fuck yeah. You can't go wrong with him.
Yeah.
He's another Gary Busey guy. Just that's pure gold.
You're talking about a movie where the four main male actors in it was, Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, who's another, iconic actor in a lot of ways and just has a very Martin Sheen way about himself. Anthony Zerba, who I don't know, do you remember him?
Which one is he?
He was the boy's father that went through the ice and all that stuff. Yeah, the rich guy and everything. Another great classic actor, but very much a character himself. And then ended it all with Tom Skerritt played the sheriff in there and everything. And it's fucking Tom Skerritt,
Yeah,
man.
dude.
Yeah, don't fuck with Tom Skerritt. So anyway, Great movie, great subject matter. We'll talk more about that in the next episode and everything.
Yeah.
Subject matter, very fitting for some of the things
Yeah.
we're going through these days, huh? Possibly. What about your other honorable mentions?
It is unfortunately another newer one.
Okay.
So it's 1922.
Oh,
which
yeah,
is
that's a way newer one.
brand new.
Yeah. Well, then we'll talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
that more because I definitely want to talk about that. Any other ones? Is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, then I'll talk about my last one. This could have along with Dead Zone, this could have very easily made my list, but I think you'll probably appreciate this one too. Is 1982's Creep Show.
Yes.
Dude.
I love anthology horror films.
Yes. I
Mostly in the found footage vein, but Creepshow is very good.
Yeah, you and your found footage horror, man. You are all about the found footage. I know. But Creepshow, amazing collection. Another one, campy, but entertaining. Some amazing people in there.
Yeah, dude.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
Ted Danson, Hal Holbrook, just Adrienne Barbeau. She gets the raw fucking deal. That whole story about the creature in the box and everything.
Dude, that man.
Six sides, man. Our singer wrote a song about something very similar to that, and as soon as we heard, we were like, "Man, ain't that Creep Show?" No, dude, it's different. It's like, no, man, I'm pretty sure that's
pretty fucking
Creep Show, dude. So, and then of course notable in that it was Stephen King's first major acting role.
Yeah, meteor shit.
Meteor shit. Yeah, playing the unfortunate soul. What was it, Geordie?
Geordie, yeah.
Yeah.
Geordie.
He did not do well.
Yeah.
But shouldn't have gotten in that bathtub. But another great one. If you folks haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out. I'm pretty sure you can easily find it online, actually. But collection of stories. One kind of like Twilight Zone the movie. Those kind of Tales from the Dark Side and Tales from the Crypt and all those ones. Yeah, it's great. Real quick, I'm just gonna throw out there one thing I am probably gonna do when we get into these various things is I'm gonna do a what I like to call the thanks but no thanks, which means it's the one in the bunch, whatever, from the topic, which today is Stephen King, that I just can completely and utterly fucking live without. So my thanks, but no thanks. Maybe to some it's going to seem obvious, although I know some people that think this movie's fucking awesome, which blows my mind even more than the Langoliers thing, because the Langoliers I can appreciate. It's 1986's Maximum Overdrive. Dude, what the fuck, man?
Oh my God.
Now,
the standout scene for me in that movie is when the truck turns its mirror to look at Emilio Estevez, right, in that fucking water tunnel thing. It's dude, fucking stop, man. This movie is dumb.
Exactly.
They took the one truck with the actual face on it to do that.
Yeah, the Green Goblin guy one, right? Yeah,
right. Yeah, and exactly. I mean, we could go on, and other people on the internet have. There's probably nothing I can really say. That's why I threw it as just an ending. Thanks, but no thanks. I just that and that's the thing. Like that really. Stephen King himself was so behind that film. Like he was like, this is it. I don't like The Shining is bullshit. All these other ones, blah, blah, blah. But Maximum Overdrive, I'm behind this movie.
Because you directed the fucking film.
I was going to say, he directed.
Yeah.
Right, I know, but I'm saying that's my point, is he was putting it out like, this is going to be the shit, guys. Like, fuck these other ones, fuck Kubrick, fuck blah, 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 fuck Toby Hooper. Like, this is the shit. And then I saw it, and I went to the fucking movie theater.
Oh, my God.
And saw that thing,
You should tweet King and be like, dude, I want my money back. With
I think plenty of people.
It was interesting.
I think he got his payback on the side of that road.
Oh, wow.
There must have been a meteor flying over the earth at that exact moment. He took control of that van and just took his ass out.
No,
man.
that's terrible. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I would never want anything horrible to happen to him. Because that's not cool.
We wouldn't have a podcast if it wasn't for him, man.
Exactly. And we wouldn't have a lot of great entertainment, man. No, so I'm just being an asshole. But no, in all seriousness, I just the only thing that came out of that is pretty decent and stuff, although most of it was already pre-released anyway, was the soundtrack, you know, because AC/DC.
Yeah,
I dig AC/DC. I'm not like a hardcore AC/DC fan, but I dig AC/DC. You know, it's cool. It introduced a lot of people in my generation to AC/DC and stuff when that came out. So soundtrack's great. Everything else about that movie is utter dog shit. There's just, other than the soundtrack, there's really nothing redeeming I can say about that movie. Like I said, I know there's folks who would be like, you're a fucking douchebag. Okay, well, maybe, you know, but maybe I am a douchebag, but I can't find anything redeeming about that movie. I walked out of it. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel particularly, it wasn't even like funny to me in like a good way. Like even like I said, like where there was stuff like, in It, you know, that was funny. You know, there were things that happened that was like, that's fucked up. Like I laughed at Tim Curry, but in a good way, you know, like it's still, there was nothing good funny about this movie. It was just pathetic. And I was like, are you like such a letdown? Because I loved his books, you know, and I was just like, awesome. King's direct me, like, fuck yeah, he's behind this movie. Some bullshit. Some of it, as Willie G would say, some of that old bullshit.
It's like getting him to read his own book on Audible. Don't. Just, I love you, bro, but I can't.
Yeah, well, that's why most don't, you know, and he definitely should not. But I mean, so you know, that's it, man. I think, you know, for the what we'll call the classic King. I mean, not to say there isn't a bunch of other classics and stuff, especially if we were ever, and maybe we will sometime if we ever just talk about the books. Yeah, there's so much other cool shit.
Yeah, dude,
just looking even in our, you know, Night Shift. Obviously, I didn't, you know, a lot of people are going to say, how could you not include Carrie? Carrie's cool, man. It's really good, but it's kind of like that, you know, Carrie to me is kind of like, you know, that debut album by a lot of people where, you know, it's great for the debut album. Like, it's cool, but it's still kind of nebulous. It's still kind of
and
like,
you see where he went from that.
Right,
like,
exactly. You know, like, I totally respect it. It's kind of like Rock-a-Rolla by Judas Priest or something, or the first Iced Earth album, or something like that, you know, where it's like, yeah, I dig it, but I can't, it doesn't.
But then you made Horror Show, and you're like, dude, that's where it's at.
Right, yeah, you know, or like, yeah, or Judas Priest, it's like, you know, but Rock-a-Rolla, it's like, yeah, but then they made Screaming for Vengeance, and they made Unleashed in the East, and they made Painkiller. It's like, it just doesn't stand a chance in there. So that's why some of the acting, you know, Sissy Spacek and Carrie,
it was great, man.
Fucking fabulous.
It was really good.
But again, we can talk more about that in the next one, because that is yet another one that they revisited and everything. So... yeah, so I'm sure we'll talk. We might end up revisiting some of these other ones if people are going, oh, you passed over a lot of classic stuff. I have a feeling we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel bad because what about you? I mean, what do you think about King? I know you're not like, you've got a lot of other favorite authors and stuff like that.
James Rollins.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, wait till we get into that dude.
Yeah.
And isn't he having a movie come out?
Yes.
That'll be
based on my
exciting.
favorite book of his.
Oh, I didn't know which book is it.
Yeah, Map of Bones. It's the
Oh,
second in the
yeah.
Sigma Force series, and the first book I read by him.
Yep.
Blown away, bro.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
But
Well,
I mean,
back to
introduce
King.
yeah,
Back
but I
to
mean, what is your general take on Stephen King?
He's okay.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just okay to you?
Yeah, I don't know. I love Misery.
Right.
That's my favorite. I think that's what introduced me to him.
Okay.
But really, I haven't really found any others that I've really like. I really like this.
Well, what about his like non-horror-y ones, like things like Shawshank Redemption?
Oh, yeah, I did. I really like Shawshank Redemption. I loved Green Mile.
Right, that's what I thought. See, that's
Yeah,
why I was going to bring it,
something-
because I got the impression that you were more kind of
The newer.
not that you don't like horror, suspensey kind of stories and stuff like that, but when it came to him, you seemed like you are more into that other.
Oh,
Way to go! You're more
Yeah.
into that. You're more into that other.
Yeah, I'm more in like the suspense, not so much
classic
the
story.
horror,
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
you know.
Okay. I just didn't want people to like yell and be like, "You never fucking asked Megan what she thought, fucking dick." chauvinist asshole. And it's like, no, we very much care about what Megan says. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately, other than Stand By Me and Misery, we didn't really get into, I know the ones, so I feel, but I have
It'll be in the next
I was just going to say,
ones.
I do intend on talking a little bit more about some of that stuff, like Green Mile, especially when we get into the stuff that's come out from King in the last 20 years, as opposed to the first 20 years. So cool. Awesome, man. Yeah, I thought this was fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Growing pains, folks. You get to hear us through our growing pains. This is the first time we're doing this and everything, and but we're having a good time. And
you look back in 10 years, 15 years, and be like, yeah, this was their Carrie for sure.
Exactly. This will be.
And
our
then they
Carrie.
made the Langoliers, and you can totally see that arc. No.
Oh man,
no.
When we get to the point where we make our Langoliers. That's probably going to be the time. One of us is going to develop like a drinking problem, and another one's just going to go off the rails entirely and go, but I get your point. I understand your point. Yeah. No, man, it's cool. And so, I guess we should probably wrap it up because we've been running real long here. And anybody who did check this out, man, thanks so much. Thanks so much for checking this out. We're going to keep doing it. Hopefully you like it. Even if you don't, we're going to keep fucking doing it because we're enjoying ourselves. And hopefully some of you are too. Like we said one last time, you'll be able to look up on here. We'll put at the end, we'll put all our platforms, social media stuff that we're available on, and where people can download us, where people can reach us. And we're very reachable. We're very approachable. We want to talk to you as long as you're not a complete dickhead to us, because then we're just gonna fucking ignore you. But we want to hear from you. Reach out to us, let us know what you think. And we've got a whole long list of subjects that we know we're gonna do. We're gonna be recording the next episode pretty soon here. You could probably expect at first you're gonna get episodes from us, full episodes like this coming from us every at least every couple of weeks, if not sooner.
Yeah.
And then we are going to see that we've got all sorts of other content that we're going to be putting up too, because movie reviews and just different
skits or whatever we want to do.
Just different stuff. Yeah, we're having fun with this. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff coming up on here, and so keep checking back, please. And I think with that, we can say adieu.
Yes, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks so much, and we will see you
on the flip side.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast.
Let us know what you think in the comments, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Please click on the links in the description to follow us, and make sure you hit that subscribe button below.
And if you want to help us out, please check out our Patreon page as well.
We'll be back with more soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Holy shit, did we do it?
Yeah, we did it.